Welcome along to episode 5 already. Yeah, of the Midweek F1 podcast. This is the new-ish podcast that keeps you in the F1 loop in the middle of the week. It's what we do. So it's the last look at the Grand Prix just gone and the first look at the Grand Prix coming up. And what an episode we've got for you today. As always, I'm Nicola Hume and I am joined by commentary legend Ben Edwards, who is still unbelievably tired from being at Goodwood members meeting over the weekend.
Oh, but I had a fantastic weekend at Goodwood. It was really dramatic. But I also found the time while it was all going on to watch the Grand Prix as well. And that was absolutely brilliant. So really entertaining.
I have to say, actually, before we move on, because I bumped into you on Saturday at Goodwood.
That's right.
And I was so impressed by your notes. Because I was thinking, because obviously we talk commentary a lot on this show. And you, when it comes to F1, you have to know your 20 drivers, your 10 teams, a little bit about each team and the cars, etc. But when it comes to Goodwood, there's 12 races in a day of different categories, different cars from different eras, numerous amounts of drivers. So you have got so many notes. Like when I bumped into you, you had, I think it was the grid for the motorbike race. And there was 25 riders?
That's right. It's tough, but it's also enjoyable. And trying to get all the paperwork together is a bit of a challenge. The TV crew were helping sort that out. But yes, it is a challenge.
So are you all right, is what I want to ask.
I'm all right today. Tomorrow I'll be bang.
Yeah, I was just exhausted from watching it. But hearing your commentary, you were marvellous.
Thank you very much.
Such a big fan. Anyway, we're also going to be joined by this week's special guest, which should also be a cracker, because that's someone who's not afraid of having opinions when it comes to motorsport. So it's going to be good.
We're also, of course, going to have We Need to Talk About. We always do this every week. And once again, it's going to be one of those rookies that could be in a bit of trouble.
And then our very own Midweek F1 Prediction Championship of the Universe. So who chose wisely for Bahrain last week? Did Ben manage to get some points? Find out later.
We will find out. Yeah, and also we'll be looking ahead, of course, because we've got 3 in a row, so we're getting ready for the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix coming up this weekend. So we'll be looking into that and thinking about who might win that one, whether we can get it right or not.
Right, we have to get stuck in.
Okay.
What do McLaren do now?
Ooh.
What do they do now? I mean, Piastri was clearly just leading beautifully for the whole entire race. Lando, I don't even really know what happened there. I mean, he just kind of... Is he bottling it? What's going on?
It was a very interesting weekend from that point of view. Oscar Piastri was in top form this week.
Oh, stunning.
There's no doubt about it. And the way he not only started the race, but then pulled away. And then when we had a restart, he was so cool, so controlled, dealt with it. Whereas Lando, tough qualifying. He was really upset with himself afterwards. And then just moving off the line. A tricky one for Lando. So I think going into the next race, we're really going to be watching him. How deep is the pressure on him now? But there were lots of elements to that race that were really interesting, I thought. George Russell was remarkable. I always find he's a great defensive driver. And what he was able to do to hold off Lando at the end was very impressive. He's a tough guy to get past.
Yeah.
So that was also good fun to see. Max Verstappen, of course, didn't have the weekend that he was looking for.
Yeah.
That was all a bit tricky. Carlos Sainz was somebody I thought rather missed out, because actually he'd done a really good job in qualifying with the Williams team. And then in the race, things didn't quite go to plan. And of course, in the end, they had to bring the car in with some damage. He'd got some penalties as well. But it did give me some promise that there is some performance coming out of Williams.
Yeah.
That Carlos is now beginning to really feel himself.
I mean, we had some overtakes. We had a random safety car. It seemed like it was actually quite an entertaining race, which was nice.
It was entertaining. And when you think about what the Haas team did,
when
they had one car crash in qualifying, the other one qualify last, and both got points.
Yeah.
And Ayuka Mitsu, the boss, seeing him after the race, he was so happy. Yeah, and what they had achieved was brilliant.
Yeah, Haas had a blinder of a weekend. But as always, we've got producer Jim to bring up particular subjects for us to discuss. So go for it.
Okay. Well, let's start with McLaren. We've kind of got into this already. But Oscar, obviously incredible. But Lando in the same car all over the place all weekend. Has he got the championship collywobbles being the chased rather than the chaser? Discuss.
Right, first up, collywobbles is a great word. I'm really questioning Lando and whether he has got it in him. I think over the last couple of years, you're like, oh yeah, he could have a world championship hat on his head. But now I'm thinking he might not have it in him. There seems to be certain moments where he just makes so many little hiccups, so many little mistakes, whereas Oscar Piastri has just got that Aussie chill about him. Like even winning, they said over the radio, yeah, it's going to be a really good party tonight. That was a really mega race. Thanks, everyone. After he just won a Grand Prix, just nothing. Captain chill.
He is very cool. I agree. He is very cool. But I do think Lando Norris still has a lot of talent. He had a bad weekend. I understand that.
Yeah.
He does have talent. It just didn't come together for him. But I do feel as though maybe the pressure is getting to him a little bit. He was so disappointed on the Saturday after qualifying, wasn't he? He needs to get that back together. We've got this 3 in a row. Can he get it sorted? He really needs to come back strong at the next race. Whether it can happen or not, I am a little concerned. I'm wondering, how is Lando going to cope with this? Because there is no doubt that Oscar Piastri is at a very, very high level. The qualifying he wasn't as good at last year versus his teammate. Now he seems to be on top of that. And I noticed from last year he did actually already out-qualify Lando at Saudi. So let's see what happens going forward.
It's going to be a big week next week, isn't it? Right, Jim?
Bahrain Gremlins 1. The Red Bull pit stop disco lights. What a difference a week makes. Perfect in Japan, all over the shop. In Bahrain, discuss.
I'm going to let you go first, and then I'm going to explain some things.
You're the Red Bull expert. But yeah, I mean, it was a blow for Red Bull, wasn't it? And when you come from that brilliant win that Max Verstappen took in Japan, it was a stunning performance. But I've always seen Red Bull do great pit stops, and it all went horribly wrong. They had a lights problem, and then they had a wheel problem getting the wheel off. It's so unusual for Red Bull because they're often some of the very best pit stops that they do in that pit lane. And of course, the performance of the car just wasn't working, especially when he was on the hard tyres for Max Verstappen. It wasn't delivering the sort of grip that he wanted. So there's no doubt that that's very up and down at the moment for Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean, it was the 3 slowest pit stops. If you're not including the penalties that people had to serve, it was the 3 slowest pit stops. I think one of them was like 6.2 seconds, then 2 4.7 second stops. Allow me to explain. So there is a guy called Rich Wolverson who works part of the pit crew, and he created his traffic light system. So on every pit stop, you'll see whenever you've got the driver's view and you pull into a pit stop, there's always a traffic light along the top. But the problem is, a lot of the time, the halo blocks the drivers from actually seeing it. So then a lot of the time, the drivers will then just wait for the crew to clear and then they'll go. Or some people have like a flag of a stop-go situation, whereas Rich came up with the traffic light system. So he holds it lower so the drivers can see it, and he has buttons on the back so he can trigger the lights. It's the only team that does that. And for some reason, both of the lights, the one up there that the drivers can't see and the one that Rich had, just didn't work. And that's never happened to Rich before. He's been doing it for years, and he is one of the many reasons that Red Bull are so good at pit stops. I mean, they've won fastest pit stop for the last few years. But for some reason on this race, it just didn't work. And I'm so gutted for him because he's so lovely. But it's just one of those things that he would have had some difficult Zoom meetings today, I think. Bless him. But what a lovely guy. But that's basically what happened. It was just a full technical hiccup by sounds of things.
Oh, such a shame. I do feel for him. But it does make a big difference, and I hope he gets it sorted out.
God, yeah, fingers crossed. Jim?
Bahrain Gremlins 2. Another very solid weekend for George Russell, as you just said. But massive technical issues with the car. His DRS opened when it shouldn't have. Should he have kept his second place? Discuss.
Why is no one really kicked off about that?
Because I think he actually did the right thing. He lifted when he realised that he had released DRS. He had a slower lap. He actually did a slower lap. He was very smart. He was working. His brain is working well. He knew that there had been a mistake, so he lifted. It was a slower lap, so it was looked into. And I think they felt, well, he didn't actually gain any advantage. We know they had a technical problem, and he didn't get a penalty out of it. And I actually do feel that's very fair, to be honest.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair enough. He seems like he's going to be a little sneaky dark horse.
Yeah,
George.
but his teammate missed out a bit. He was also going really well.
Yes,
at
he
times.
was.
And he was unlucky. I did feel for Antonelli. I think he could have had a good result there, but he was a little bit unfortunate with the way that the whole race sort of developed. Just one of those things.
He definitely seems like the most exciting rookie at the moment, I think.
He's doing a great job, yeah. His qualifying has been very impressive.
Yeah.
But he was out of the points this time.
Jim?
Ferrari nearly get a pit strategy correct, shock, and nearly get Leclerc on the podium. Is this the start of the resurgence for Ferrari or not? Discuss.
That's funny because I was actually predicting there might be a Ferrari finisher on the podium. I was trying to decide, could it be Hamilton, could it be Leclerc? And of course, They both missed out, but to be fair, they've scored reasonable points at last with both cars, 4th and 5th, and it was working well at certain stages when Hamilton was going really well at one point in the race. Their tyre use was good too, with their plans for that. It didn't all work completely to plan, and they did lose that podium, but I do think that Ferrari, every now and then, it works well, like we saw in the sprint race in China.
Yeah, and I think maybe now with Lewis and the team, they're now kind of... They're merging together a bit better. He was very complimentary on the radio.
He was.
Gave them shout outs for their pit stops, which I thought was a sly dig at Red Bull, but there we go. But I think they're merging well. They're now turning into a proper team together. It's just taken a few races to build up to that. So maybe we'll see more exciting Ferrari things.
Indeed, it may well happen.
Yeah. Jim?
So our weekly rookie watch. And there's only one person who can be on the rookie watch this week, and that's Ollie Berman's standout punchy run from last to 10th. Discuss.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Very good, wasn't it?
I'm pleased I kept him on my fantasy team.
Well done.
Yep.
Done it again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he was so happy, wasn't he, afterwards for getting that single point. But it was a huge achievement to come from the back.
Yeah.
And the way he was then defending as well against some very quick drivers in cars, I was very impressed with both. Actually, both of the Haas drivers did a great job, but he is the rookie who shone. I mean, as we say, Antonelli's been doing a good job. He was a little unlucky, of course. He finished just outside the points, just behind Ollie Behrman, but that's the way it goes. But Ollie's doing a really good job.
There's something sneaky happening with Haas at the moment, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, even last season they were building up to something exciting, but it seems like they're building up to being a real dark horse of a team. I mean, you compare them with Williams, for example, and it seems like Haas have just got the edge.
Possibly. I mean, it's funny when you look at the points at the moment that they're 5th overall, and they're ahead of teams like Aston Martin. They're ahead of Alpine. I mean, Alpine's been a bit up and down anyway, but it's interesting that Haas are 5th in the manufacturers' battle at the moment. You wouldn't really expect that, would you? But it's good effort.
That was never going to happen under Günther Steiner. Was it? Never going to happen.
I might argue with you on that one.
Right. I have an update on Poopgate.
Oh, great. Go on then.
It's so ridiculous. So, last week on this podcast, we were speaking about Carlos Sainz and his poop situation because he missed a part of the national anthem because he had to go to the loo because he had a dicky tummy, and he was fined by the FIA €20,000 because you missed part of the national anthem. We don't care if you've got a bad stomach. You shouldn't be going for a poo. Well, there's the national anthem. So he got fined for that. And then this weekend, they asked him about said incident, which he spoke about. And he said during his interview, he said that he basically said poop happens, but gave it the naughty version.
Okay.
And now he's been fined for that, potentially. So, but wait a minute, because the difference between pooping here and pooping here, the difference is about 20 grand.
Oh my goodness.
So, an actual physical poop from your body, 20 grand. Poop from your mouth, 40 grand.
Unbelievable, isn't it? That is just unbelievable. The Formula One world sometimes.
So ridiculous.
You just cannot understand it, can you? That kind of money. But
Thoughts on that, producer Jim?
He's got a suspended sentence on his mouth poop.
On his mouth poop, yes.
Like community service, basically.
Yeah, but up to 40,000.
Yeah.
So essentially it could cost him €60,000 for a double poop, for a top and bottom.
dear, oh dear. We shall see. We shall
ridiculous.
See. It is crazy.
Right. Before we bring on our special guest, don't forget to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And by all means, let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, because it's all good for the algorithm. And if you're listening, then click the follow button. Right. We can introduce our guest.
Well, I'm very pleased to say that we're being joined by a touring car legend, a star of TV and podcasts. It's Jason Plato. Jason, it's so great to have you with us.
Please, a leg end, if you don't mind.
An end of a leg.
Leg end.
He is an ankle.
Indeed. I commentated on you many times over the years. Not both your titles. Your first title in touring cars was the year before I started doing British touring car commentary.
right?
But then I did your second one. Yeah. So, but what did you think? Just an initial thought on Bahrain. What did you think of that Grand Prix?
Do you know what? I sat down and watched it yesterday with a bottle of Lady Petrol.
Nice.
Yes, which is nice. And do you know what? I think Bahrain's got its potential to be a season game changer.
Really?
Mm.
Yeah, because I thought, thinking about it from a driver's perspective, if I was Mark Webber,
Yeah.
I would be instructing his young protege,
Oscar Piastri.
Oscar Piastri, to really ram it home now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Lando's had a wobble.
Yeah.
He's quite, I've worked with Lando a few times on the young driver program, and he wears a lot on his sleeve, whereas Oscar doesn't wear it on his sleeve. But if roles were reversed, Oscar would certainly be feeling the same sort of pressure internally that Lando has. But Lando lets it out.
He does. He's very
Yeah.
honest about it. Sometimes that surprises me a little bit.
Yeah, but I think that's a risky strategy because he's showing some weakness, and whether they're teammates or not, Oscar will want to kick him as hard as he can whilst he's down.
Yeah.
Because guess what? That's what.
Competing.
Your teammate is your number one enemy.
You've had some tough teammates over the years as well, so I totally understand that. But it's,
So the psychology behind it,
Yeah.
I think it's a big weekend for Oscar, but also a really, Lando's got to snap back.
Well, this
in
is
Saudi really quick and get back on the pace, and if he does, then of course that little psychodrama's over. And
Yeah.
they're back to the same level. But the problem is, if he just tightens up a little bit, it's so competitive now. 3/10, he'd be 8th on the grid.
I know.
If that happens again, the rot could set in.
This is quite interesting to hear it coming from you, because I feel like you would watch an F1 race completely different to how I would, different to how Ben
Yeah.
would, because you're visualising what it's like to be on track and
Yeah.
you're picturing what it's like to be a racing driver with that helmet on, being in that situation.
Yeah.
So do you think there's any other battles on track that we should be keeping an eye on?
Oh, well, I mean, I was pleased that, I refer to them as the pocket rockets, the new Red Bull number 2. I was pleased he got some points.
Yeah. I think he's got it in him,
I really want
Yuki.
him to do well.
Yeah.
And guess what? I think he's a little star, actually.
Yeah.
Yuki Tsunoda, you think
Yeah.
he really is?
I
Yeah.
think he's a little star.
Okay.
So that's going to be interesting. And then what you were mentioning earlier about the rookies. That's going to be interesting how that plays out. Antonelli is a star, isn't he?
He is. I think
I
he
was
definitely.
watching him from the previous race.
Yes, exactly. I was impressed there.
It's the way he drives the car.
Yes,
It's just the smoothness.
I agree.
And then if you watched some of the in-car from Oscar,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's
Yeah.
sublime.
He
Yeah.
is.
Effortless.
Yeah, it
It
is.
looked effortless.
Yeah.
And then if you look back at Hamilton's car, you look at Verstappen's car, not the same.
Yeah.
Really struggling.
They were
just
struggling.
nervous and twitchy, and
Yeah,
you can't have cars like that
I agree.
because they bite you.
Jason, you have a fantastic racing background and you were a karting champion. You tried to go down the single-seater route. You were in single-seaters. You were trying to go to Formula One.
Yeah.
It didn't quite happen, but it was a Formula One team that you made very close contact with, a special contact with Frank Williams,
Yeah, yeah.
that got you into touring cars.
Absolutely, yeah.
And took your career into this amazing place where you've got more British touring car wins than anybody else. So how was that sort of trying to go to Formula One then in your career, thinking, oh, this isn't going to happen, but then your career going a different way? How was that for you?
It was tough actually because I had to make a choice in '92, I think it was.
Okay.
92, 93, that my single-seater career, the snowball going down the hill, it hit a rock. I was trying to rebuild again, and you just can't get the momentum back. So, it was a conscious decision that, I arrived at over the space of maybe a year, that it's over now.
Right.
I'd love to know the difference between how it feels to drive a single-seater compared to a touring car.
I suppose the easiest way to for the viewers is to imagine a fighter plane and a small private jet.
Okay.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Single-seater cars, I mean, you'll remember from your days, they're very pure to drive.
Yeah.
Everything is designed and built for one purpose, and one purpose alone. They're light, they're nimble. Whereas a touring car, even though it's a proper race car and underneath, they're a bit heavy, they're a bit lazy. They need a certain style and a certain way of trying to, come on, you've got to G the thing on, so you hit curbs in them. It's It's great fun, but they're tricky to drive. A lot of F1 drivers have jumped in them and not done
Yeah.
very well.
Yeah,
I agree.
I mean, Ben was mentioning earlier, you are the record holder for the most amount of wins in touring cars. Was it 90 wins?
97.
97,
Which actually
sorry.
is 3
Sorry.
away from 100.
Oh, there we
which
go.
is a bit of a pain.
Yeah, that must be really annoying.
I think
Bit
it's
of a
still,
pain, but
So
still
close.
impressive.
But the bar bill is substantially less.
Yes.
I
Fantastic.
mean, that's, to get to 100, that's potentially a 10 grand bar bill. So actually, it's not so bad.
Was there any driver in particular that you found as your ultimate rival?
Anyone.
Anyone?
Anyone, yeah.
Okay, fair.
I've had some pretty big battles with Matt Neal. Ironically, we get on really well now. And if you'd asked me that question 3 years ago, I would have said, no way.
Yeah.
No way will we ever get on.
There seems to be a different energy when it comes to touring cars compared to F1. F1, they all seem really good friends off track, but then on track, they're so quick to grass each other up. Like Lando just slightly jumping the start. Max was so quick
That
to grass
has
each
changed a
They're
little
not.
bit.
They're not good friends.
Yeah.
They can't
yeah.
be.
They're not.
I think
they're all really ruthless, two-faced racing drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah. To a certain
Because
extent.
you've got to be that way.
Yeah.
And they're just very good at hiding it now.
So
I
is
think
it
that's
the
true to a
same-
certain extent. I think in the modern world it is slightly different to how it was in the older world.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
I think that
The older world.
well, but with Senna and Prost. I was thinking of Senna and Prost.
Yes.
The opposition between Senna and Prost. But it's funny you talking about your relationship with Matt Neal because Senna and Prost just came together, thankfully,
Yes.
before Senna passed away, which is so
Absolutely.
sad.
Yeah.
But they had been complete enemies to each
yes.
other as teammates and then as in different teams.
Yeah.
And it was very obvious to all of us watching. I do feel as though it's slightly different in Formula One
I would
nowadays.
agree. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
It is different now.
Yeah.
It's different. I mean, when I was growing up in karting, as you mentioned earlier, my hero was Villeneuve.
Yeah.
And, the race he had at Dijon with Arnaud, that's what lit my fire.
That was an amazing race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you replay that now and put today's lenses on, it's outrageous.
Because basically what we're talking about is a battle between two teammates at that
Yeah.
time who were just giving each other no space at all, weren't they? And almost pushing each other off.
Oh, they were banging wheels for
exciting,
laps.
though.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I love
It's like
that.
the best race, but, that's...
You just couldn't do that now. And partly, I think, because the teams would react in a different way. You are working for a team. It's
Yes.
not just about you.
Yes.
And I think that has, made us like
Whereas today it'll be, he pushed me. No, he didn't give me space.
Yeah, see, that annoys me, actually. They're all too quick to get on the radio and report each other for a tiny little...
I know.
Yeah.
It's like,
I know.
come on, lads.
Yeah.
I
He
feel
forced
the
me.
same.
Throw a pair.
It does feel
It's not
strange. Yeah. No, absolutely.
But it works.
Oh,
when they do report it, they are
They
getting...
get the results.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
So you've got to do... It's a bit like diving in football. It's got to be done.
Jason,
no.
No, it's got to be done. Otherwise, you're not proving a
It's got to be
point.
done, but they've got to roll it out because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but sometimes, even if someone's just nicking your shin and you dive, sometimes you might get a penalty.
Yeah, but that's cheating.
But it works.
Well, I know, but it shouldn't work.
Okay, fair enough.
They
I
need to sort the
disagree.
regs out. Fine them. If they can fine them 40 grand for having a poo.
I know.
No,
Then-
it's 40 grand for saying poo,
Oh, sorry.
20 grand for physically pooing.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe some of these guys are on 300-400 grand a week. Fine them a month's wages. They'll stop it. Won't they?
That's very true.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Jason, you've had this great racing career, but you've also had this career of driving all sorts of road cars and all sorts of other things in the fifth gear. How's that been going? Is it something that you've always loved doing? And what else are you up to nowadays?
Well, do you know what? It started on Driven on Channel 4 back in the late 90s. And I've got a letter at home when I was doing the Spider series. I did the championship winners test for Williams in the Renault at Silverstone.
Lovely.
And I knew there was a potential drive there because Will Hoy's contract would run out. And I did the tested well, went to see and had a meeting with Frank, and he basically just said there and then, look, there wasn't ever a drive here, and you couldn't have done anything more to get the drive, so you haven't let yourself down, but you just got no profile. And that really resonated.
Yes.
We need a profile driver, someone coming from F1.
Oh, really?
And that's why I went after a TV gig.
I didn't realise that's what got you into the TV side.
Absolutely, because I
Okay.
just thought, if there's two guys going for one seat and one's got a really big profile and he's on the TV and you're both good, who's going to get the gig? And that's why I did it. So that went on to Driven. Driven ended in like 2002 and then I think 2002. And then fifth gear came along. So yeah, I've been doing that since 2002, 3.
Yeah.
I love it. It's great.
Still enjoying it?
Very lucky guy, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, working for many years with Tiff, and we were the, when you see the red arrows, they're all ace, and then there's 2 lunatics which go off and do the crazy stuff. Well, that was, we were the synchro pair of automotive TV.
That's nice.
So working with Tiff was amazing, but I've driven some amazing bits of kit.
Yes, I know. Yeah. I've seen you drive some amazing bits of kit.
Yeah, and being in Enzo's, going back to F1, that before the season started, there's all these really ace images of Lewis walking out of Enzo's apartment.
Yes.
Well, I've been in that apartment quite a few times, and if you go in Enzo's office, it's exactly like it was the day he died.
Wow.
There's one picture on his desk, and that's Gilles Villeneuve. His diary's open, his purple felt tip pen's there. It's breathtaking. So to have those opportunities,
yes,
it's amazing.
What's the rest of it like? Is it all just still set back in its day?
Absolutely, yeah.
So there's no Wi-Fi.
No, well, I'm sure Schumacher might have put some in. But the weirdest thing of all is Schumacher's bedroom was there, and I guess Lewis has now got that.
Yeah.
But Schumacher was driving for them when I did the piece down there, and at the end of Schumacher's bed, there was a little tall boy, chest of drawers, and on the bed, looking back at me, is a bronze bust of his own head. And I just thought, that's weird. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? How can you how can you close your eyes? I'm watching myself.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Isn't it?
That's creepy. Yeah.
So I wonder if Lewis is going to have a bust.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We'll find out.
I wouldn't put it past him. Right, we need to go on to our we need to talk about section. This is quite an important one, I think, because we started speaking about him right at the start of the podcast, because before the season even started, there was already rumours about Jack Doohan and his contract.
Right.
We're now 4 races in. He's still yet to score a point. It should be around race 4, race 5. We're now currently sat in the middle of those 2. As to when they're going to decide on his contract is what we've been hearing. What do you think about Jack Doohan?
Well, let's see. I mean, I'd be very surprised, for example, if they actually took him out between race 4 and race 5, when we've only got a week in between.
Yeah.
But yes, after Saudi, I suppose that could be a key time for them to make a decision. I thought he actually did a better job in Bahrain. He was unlucky in the end because he was outside of the points, and he also got a penalty, didn't he? So that dropped him even further down. But he'd actually done a decent job in terms of driving, I thought. The team was in better shape, and what Pierre Gasly did was impressive. What are your thoughts, Jason? Do you think he's good enough as a rookie?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, because I think he just needs a bit more time.
Right.
The pressure on these young lads.
I do agree with you there.
It's so, even what's happened to, Red Bull.
Yeah.
With the swap, that destabilises any young lad.
Yeah.
They're kids.
Yes.
They're kids. Ollie Behrman's 18 years old.
And it does look as though, Liam Lawson again struggled this weekend. He didn't really deliver that brilliantly.
I just think they're piling,
but it does
the
knock
Red
your
Bull
confidence.
way. Which I know that he's not with Red Bull, he's with Alpine, but that vibe goes around the paddock. So he'd be feeling not at his best at all. I think they just need a bit more time.
I mean, we were talking about this before we started recording, but Jeddah is a very fast track, so there could be a lot of accidents this weekend, which puts a lot of pressure on the rookie shoulders again.
Yep.
So this could be another really tricky weekend for Jack Doohan.
Absolutely. Well, in fact, all of them. But particularly, doing definitely. I mean, it is a nasty track, I think. I know you mentioned earlier you're slightly concerned about it. I am too, actually. Yeah. Because some of they're blind corners, and you're doing 190 mile an hour.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much.
No, absolutely.
That incident in F2, which Hadjar in the tunnel, when he just jinked out the way.
Yeah.
It's scary. Yeah, absolutely. I understand that. And
he's going great. Hadjar.
Hadjar's
Yeah.
doing a really
Isn't he?
good job.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, surprisingly impressive. So
Yeah.
it's interesting, isn't it, how some of the rookies are really shining. We've already spoken about Antonelli, Behrman, and Hadjar, as you say, and others, like Doohan and Lawson particularly, are struggling. It's a bit hard to tell with Bortoleto because the car's not very good for him, but we shall see.
Yeah, we will see. But there's something crazy that's hard to get your head around as someone who just drives normal cars. Like, I don't have a racing license, but I have been in a car that's gone to 192 mile an hour on the autobahn.
Saucy.
It was
What
very
car
nice.
was
It
it?
was in an M5 competition. It was very nice. We lost a lot of fuel that day.
Oh, that's-
just like filling
can
up
happen,
every
though.
5 minutes. It was insane. But it was terrifying. Going at that speed is terrifying. And you're having to look so far ahead for the slightest bit of
Right.
movement.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you think ahead of Jeddah this weekend, doing those speeds. I know that they're used to driving those speeds, but knowing that that track is fast just puts so much pressure and will just clench those fists just that little bit firmer.
And also things like that damage. You know, the cars are so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, the cars, there's so many little bits on them.
Yeah.
And when there's a shunt, it's a big shunt.
It is.
It's a lot of money. And a lot of, most of the teams now will be starting to get a bit short on parts. A lot of pressure on young guys to bring it home in one piece.
Yes, absolutely. And I think they've got to try this weekend to keep them as straight as possible. But so we are looking forward to this next race in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Just looking back, it's interesting because Red Bull have had some good success there. There's no doubt, with both Max Verstappen taking a couple of wins and Sergio Perez taking a win. And actually, he's had 2 poles versus Max having 1. So Red Bull have had some really good background there. Lewis took the first win when it was in 2021. So there's not been many races there yet, obviously. What are your thoughts going into that? Do you think, McLaren's still the dominant force?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got a funny feeling we're going to see Ferrari back.
Do you? Okay. Yeah,
don't
we
know
were talking
why.
about that a bit.
brewing.
Yes, I think it's brewing,
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
Well, obviously, then we have to talk about our prediction championship of the entire universe and beyond.
Right.
It's getting bigger every week. So basically, we do predictions every week and then we score points. So I need predictions from you. So you're going to predict who you think is going to be P1, P2 and P3 and who will get the fastest lap when it comes up to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. You get 6 points, 4 points, 2 points and then 1 point for fastest lap. No pressure.
Okay.
But as it stands,
Yes.
Team Guest are smashing it.
Okay.
So last week we had Harry Benjamin sat in your seat and he predicted really well. I mean, he got Oscar for the win and he got Norris in third. So they're now at 22 points. In second place is producer Jim with 12 points. Also in second place, it's me with 12 points. We didn't score any points from last week. And then in third place, you got points. You got points.
At
Yeah,
last.
you got 6 points because you picked Oscar. But
Was that the first bit on the board?
Well, not quite the first,
got
but
9.
I have struggled. So
you've got 9. You're doing well. You're doing well.
No, I'm hopeless at predicting, but it's always fun.
So no pressure, but Team Guest is
I'm
22,
gonna
Ben's got 9.
I'm going to say, do you want my prediction?
Yeah,
Yes,
go on.
please.
I'm going to say Piastri, Leclerc,
Ooh.
Hamilton.
Ooh.
Wow, you think Ferrari are really back on it?
I don't know why.
No, but
maybe I just.
it could happen.
I want it to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Fastest lap?
Fastest lap, I think, will go to Piastri.
Okay.
Interesting. No, that's very interesting. I'm struggling to think, except that I am going to go for Piastri as the winner because he's in such great form at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'll agree with you there. Beyond that, it's very unpredictable. For example, Max Verstappen, I am going to go for him for second place,
Oh, are
actually.
you?
Oh!
Even though he had a horrible weekend in Bahrain. But he has such talent. Maybe they can just turn around what that bad weekend was and he can come back. We'll see. So I'm putting him second. And George Russell, I just think, is really consistent at the moment. So I'm going to put George third. And I'm going to put Lando down for the fastest lap, but almost think something has gone on and he's not in the top 3 for some reason, but he may well have the fastest lap. Who knows?
Interesting. Now, this is a really tricky one for me. I'm going to go P1, Oscar.
Okay. Oh, we're all going for Oscar.
Yeah, just because it just makes sense and I feel like he's going to smash it. P2, I'm also going to go Max, and that's not because I've got a contract with Red Bull.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
I think it might be.
I think Max has come away from this weekend going, oh, I'm so frustrated. And then he'll go into the team and go, oh, I'm really frustrated. And then they'll go, okay, Max is frustrated. They'll make some tweaks. And I think he's going to come back and feel great. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen, especially after Japan. Like I feel like it's, I feel like it's brewing back up again. Then P3, I'm going to go Charles Leclerc.
Okay.
Because I feel like Hamilton's not going to quite make it up there. He'll be maybe P5, P6.
Okay.
Whereas Charles Leclerc's going to be up there. And I'm going to go fastest lap, Yuki Tsunoda. And that's not because I've got a contract with Red Bull.
Yes, it's
Because no, it's not. It's because I really love Yuki and I think he's great.
He is cool, isn't he?
Yeah. Jim?
I'm going along the same lines. Piastri just looks unstoppable.
Yeah.
Norris, because it's the best car.
Oh.
Leclerc, because I agree. Ferrari are on the way back. And fastest lap, Piastri also.
Okay. Interesting. So we're all going for Piastri. We're all going to be wrong then, aren't we? Somebody else will probably get the win.
Max is going to win, isn't it? It's going to be really annoying.
Yeah, it's a big weekend for him, isn't it?
It is.
Which we can all feel that.
Yeah.
He's going to be Mark Webber, his manager.
Yeah.
Will be working hard on him now.
Absolutely.
Ram it.
But he
the
is so
psychology.
chill. Yeah.
But he is so chill.
Yeah. I just feel like he's just going to do it. And then he's totally got a world champion in him.
Oh, without
It's
doubt.
just in him.
It's very
and
nice.
and if he won the world championship, he'll go, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Cheers.
guys. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Stump on the Barbie.
That's good Australian accent there. We like to finish this podcast with either an interesting fact or a fun little story.
Right.
This was never part of the original plan, but it's now a thing. Go for it.
Well, it's got to be a Formula One story, obviously, because it's Formula One.
Doesn't have to be. We've had owls. We've had everything.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a cracker.
Okay.
So it's 97. I've just got my Williams drive. And it's
the touring car drive.
The touring car drive,
Yes.
yes, yeah. And it's Monaco Grand Prix. It's my first time down there with access to lanyards.
Oh.
But it's a lads away week.
Okay.
So I'm down there with James Thompson and et al.
Lovely.
And they...
Are we talking proper lads?
Oh, yeah.
Right,
It was a serious week.
Boys.
Anyway, we woke up on the Sunday morning a bit late and we couldn't take our normal route from James's apartment down because the roads were all blocked up. So we had like a good, probably 2 mile hike up to get all the way round to come down where Raskas is.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get there and I'm like, okay, guys, I'm just off to go and see Frank. Where's our passes? Well, you don't have any, just me. See ya. Right. And back in those days, they were still in bigger awnings down the far end of the marina, if you like.
Yeah.
So, and I've got for this special occasion, I've got some Patrick Cox, burgundy, oxblood, snake skin loafers.
Oh, good Lord.
What's not to like about that? Hey, I mean they were spectacular.
I'm sure they were.
So anyway, I minced on down the paddock, and I've turned left into the Williams, their awning, and I've seen Frank. So can I come over? So I've gone over and I've knelt down in front of him, like he was a priest. But as I've knelt down, my cigarettes have popped out my top pocket. He's been now my new boss. They've bounced off his knee. I'm hung over like a thing, and they've landed on the floor between my feet. Well, I only got the shoes on the wrong feet.
Oh, no.
So not only have I walked 2 miles in them, right, I'm now look a prize. Do you know what I mean? I'm sat in front of Frank, looking at me fags on the floor, and all I can see is me feet are pointing like 2:45. And then I had to get out of the paddock, but all the guys, they'd clocked it when I left the apartment, and they didn't tell me. So now they're all on the fence shouting, "Look at your shoes, man!"
What did he say?
Did Frank say?
What did Frank say?
He didn't really say a lot. He just kind of looked at me and with like, God Almighty, what on earth have we got? What have we signed?
Thanks for signing me up.
That was just one of many.
Well, he did imply to you needed better publicity. Maybe that was another way.
I mean, honestly, when I walked down that paddock to go and see Frank, I thought I was mint.
Got my shoes.
Yes, exactly, but didn't clock them. They would have been literally like
Oh,
this.
no.
So there we go. That's a good little story.
That is good.
If you ever want more of a laugh, his autobiography that he's put together, it has some lovely, funny parts in it as well. And the whole story of going to see Frank at Williams to get
Doors start stepping in.
yeah, to get the gig of touring cars. Fantastic.
How not to be a professional racer driver. That's the title. Autobiography in the top 6 autobiography of the year.
Well done.
Was it really?
Well done.
Very
James
nice.
Hadley. Still available in all good bookshops and not so good ones as well.
There we go. You've done your promo. That's
Oh,
lovely.
excellent.
Now I'm officially calling you J-Play. Thank you for being on the show, J-Play.
J-Play.
Yeah,
All right, I'll go with that.
just feels right. You seem like a
J-Play.
J-Play.
Not JP, J-Play.
No, J-Play.
Do you know what? I quite like it because JP is Palmer.
Yeah.
And he got JP before me. So J-Play, right, let's put
J-Play.
it out there.
Yeah, I quite like it.
I'm going to change it on my socials.
Nice. Thank you very much for joining
My
us
pleasure.
on this show. We've had a great time. And don't forget, if you are watching and you have your own predictions, let us know in the comments section below, because if you do get it right, we'll give you a shout out on next week's show. And if you're listening, click follow and we'll see you next time. Bye.